I need to say some things about the Baltimore riots. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what the hell I'm talking about, it is going to be, or is, all over the news. I please implore you to read a couple of articles on it. I also want to say, before I get started with this, we should not collectively, as a culture, not just as a nation, but as a worldwide culture, forget about Nepal based around this. That was a tragedy as well. And that was one that, sure, it was a natural tragedy. It was not one that was human-made or human-caused, but it is still a tragedy just the same. Definitely offer your thoughts and offer your energy to those individuals. But the Baltimore riots, of course, all stemming behind the death of Freddie Gray, another instance of apparent police-related brutality, and these riots have stemmed and really escalated 24 hours ago on Monday, which was the day of Freddie's funeral. And I just want to make a couple of comments based around that. And this is more so addressing a lot of the social media parasites that took their time out of their busy lives, being social media parasites, to once again display their armchair activism or their armchair opinion column based around this situation. Now, I know that everything that's going on in Baltimore it's terrible. There's riots going on. There was looting. There was arson. There was mayhem, chaos. I know that that's all terrible. It's a horrible activity. It's very deplorable. But I want to know how many, and this is where the challenge kind of comes in, I want to know how many of you actually stopped prior to posting your comments, prior to posting your thoughts, prior to talking about this, to read the story before you either commented or decided to post a status update, decided to, talk about this, because I have a strange feeling that there are many out there that really did not. They either didn't follow the story or didn't really take the time to care to even see what this was about. They just immediately wanted to latch on to the idea that rioting is bad, that the people doing so are thugs, and that this will not cause any sort of progress. But when is it going to sink into a lot of people that this isn't just a one-sided issue? It's not just the rioting or the looting. It's the police brutality. It's the senseless escalation that really seems to be going crazy in this nation as of the past couple of years. Over 600 people killed by police last year. 600. It's a staggering number, and we're close to 200, or we're heading our way toward 200 this year already, and we are not out of April yet. Now, that would actually suggest that the number will not exceed the 600 from last year, but still, the last time that we had consecutive years like that was, well, pretty much never. You take a look at a couple of years ago, you take a look back at 2010, for example, and that number is considerably lower. It's in the 100 range. We've actually already superseded, just here in 2015, the total number of police-related deaths that happened throughout the calendar year and reported throughout the calendar year of the year 2010. You notice how many riots or looting sprees were happening then, back in the good old 2010 year? Notice how also one thing seems to really influence the other. How anger besets anger, and how violence can't always beset peaceful protest. Because peace sure as shit doesn't seem to work half of the goddamn time, that's for sure. Now, to be fair, I don't claim to know anything about this. I'm an outsider on many levels, like many of you, looking through those outsider eyes, but man, there's some of you out there that have some really screwed up philosophies about this situation. Most of you don't know the feeling of persecution. That you don't know the feeling about feeling targeted or even being a target. Hell, I don't know this either. Look at me. But that doesn't mean I can't see that these folks feel threatened and targeted, because the numbers really seem to suggest it. And it's not just a numerical truth here. It's also a very physical truth. And then history comes into view. History reminds us of the many things, the many facets that encircle this whole issue. And it makes my point exceptionally simple. The riots alone are not the sad element of this. The events that cause them are of equal importance and also cause both sorrow and rage. if you're simply looking at yesterday's events as the only tragedy of the situation, because the police are being attacked and innocents are being hurt or killed, you should think about the event that caused this, where a man who's supposedly innocent until proven guilty was hurt and eventually died because of the police. You see how a few words got flipped around there, just magically? It's amazing how pissed off that's going to actually make some of you. That someone actually said that, pointed that out, and stressed it with the same level of importance as perhaps, or instead of, the side that you feel to be the more important ones. The reason why I say a lot of this is the same people out there that decide that they're going to all of a sudden feel that these riots are unjust, that they are doing terrible things, which I agree. This is not really going to prove much. It's only going to prove that we're capable of some pretty terrible things as a society. But these are the same individuals that if they were to get a traffic ticket, either that or if this would happen to a white man or if they actually read the story, they would feel unjust toward the cops. They would feel as though the police were terrible individuals. Or these are the people that are perhaps within that community that defend them to the death and see the fact that there's no possibility for fault to be actually spilled or directed towards somebody in this situation. That this is something that is being elevated to a sensationalist status based around selling a story for one, and just trying to really dissolve the potential relationship between police and the minority community. And to those people, I have to agree with certain points, such as the sensationalism. The media involvement on this is equal to blame. I certainly agree with that, because why? We're seeing all of the images of the worst specks of this event, principally because that is the story. Peaceful protest no longer is a facilitator of change or a facilitator of a news story. It is no longer something where the smiles of a peaceful protest actually perpetuate change and cause people who are watching at home on their television screens to really reevaluate their thoughts and their feelings about certain things. It's now something that has to always involve some sort of tragedy or some sort of escalation. It's something that can no longer be with arms that are, linked. It now has to be with arms that are drawn back in a fist, either that or with a certain element of real chaos involved. But that being said, and that point being made, for those who are calling out for absolute peace in this country, you need to really wake up and see exactly the state this country is in. And if you immediately feel that this is based around the President of the United States, I recommend you shut off this video right now, because you're the wrong type of fucking person to have an opinion about this. If you think that the President is responsible for the words, minds, actions, and endeavors of every single American, then you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Because if that were the case, this would not be a democracy. If he was responsible and took care and changed all of those things to fit the status quo or whatever it was, this would be, it'd be really bad. It'd be something you don't want. It'd be something that you misdiagnose. It would be potentially communism? No, it wouldn't be that either. It'd be potentially a dictatorship. Oh, what about all those damn people that you wanted to get out of power just about 10 years ago? If you want peace, you have to prepare for war. If you want change, you have to prepare for the struggle. This isn't going to cause a war. This isn't going to cause change, sadly. This is only going to further the escalation. This is only going to make things, unfortunately, a lot more tense. And it's going to really deliver two very potent points or opinions. One, that the police should always be on very high guard, because any situation could just as quickly as it seems to be under control could become out of control. Secondly, and most dangerously, is that if something were to happen, whether it be accidental or purposeful, that a lot of attention can be made and a lot of stink can be made, and you can get your 15 minutes of fame by burning down a CVS pharmacy. There's a lot of media misrepresentation during this story. There was a lot of chaos that was shown. There were a lot of people that were scared. There was a lot of people who were hurt. And I'm not simply stating here that we should not feel bad for all of those individuals, that we're assessing blame for the situation being brought into motion based around one side. That one side is a victim and one side is the perpetrator. In fact, it's something where the roles are being reversed before our very eyes. But that's kind of one thing that has always been said, is that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. One thing that's always been said is that your actions beset the reactions. Body in motion doesn't stay in motion. This is something where a lot of people who are on the outside looking in, who have no connection to this situation, need to step back. Take a look in the mirror. Realize the things that you're saying and realize the things that you're becoming. Realize that in 2015, just because we have been free of slavery and that civil rights has taken place, that does not mean that it is impossible to be very immature, to be very insensitive toward race relations, because you have the potential, and a lot of you are showcasing that potential. For those of you who are showing a lot of distrust and hatred toward the police, that's understandable. There's been a lot of crime. There has been a lot of tragedies that have happened lately that seem to be centered around escalation and brutality. But that doesn't mean that every single one of them are bad individuals or bad people. Everything is transforming into symbolism. Everything is transforming into a version of the one thing that we loathe, or the one thing that represents the situation. Criminals are being compared to, looters and such are being compared to the criminals, or the individuals that were being stopped, and every police officer or riot officer is being compared to the officers that committed this act. It's becoming all symbolic. It needs to stop. People need to calm down, take a step back. I understand there's anger. I understand that there is a lot of trepidation. I understand that there is a lot of fear. And there is a longing, a strong, fierce longing for justice. But that's justice that's going to have to go through the system. And that's the reason why there's anger, because Freddie did not have the opportunity to go through that system and potentially get justice. It's as simple as that. It doesn't sound very simple. It sounds convoluted as all get out, but it's the truth. I'm not asking for comments. I'm not asking for flame wars. To be perfectly honest, I don't care if only 20 people watch this. This is a message that is meant for a nation, but I will gladly only accept if 10 people watch this and feel a little bit differently about it.